Alright, hello guys. Today I'll be talking about the patch 7.07, and instead of going into the depth of the entire patch, the details of it, I'll just be talking about which part I feel will actually impact the meta the most, as well as the dynamic of how the game is gonna go. Okay, before I go into the details, I just want to give a big shout out to a friend, Mayo Gaming. If you notice, I sound very different now. It's because he bought me a new mic in a way of supporting what I'm doing now. So yeah, thanks a lot, and I hope you guys liked how I sound now. Okay, moving on. Right now I'm at the page of laning. I feel this is a point where it will change a bit. Okay, so currently in the old patches, like previously, you notice a lot of tri-lane where the safe lane is not exactly a safe lane and the off lane is not exactly the off lane anymore. It becomes the point where it's just 3 core lanes and the 2 supports roam around. So in the past, back in the days where like mainly TI3 period, you notice it's all tri-lane with two solo lanes, and the off lane is like the so-called dangerous or sacrificed lane. But now it's no longer the case. It's not the case because of how the lanes is turning out to be. But one important change you have to take note here is the creeps now meet closer to each team's respective safe lanes. And so just based on this alone, I feel that we'll revert back to the old times where we'll see a bit more carry. There's in the difference between the carry lane and the off lane is going to be more substantial, and it's no longer just going to be 3 cores with 2 roaming supports. I think we're going to hit a middle point between the two instead of back at TI3 where it was very fixed 3-1-1, and now where it's just 3 core lanes with 2 supports roaming. I think in this patch, or at least when teams start figuring out, I believe that it will start reverting a bit back to maybe the 2-1-1 plus a roaming support, where the carry is really meant to farm and the offlane is kind of in a dangerous position. Is in a more dangerous position than he should be. Right now he's like, the offlane, as I mentioned, is not really considered a dangerous lane at all. So that's one of the points I want to bring up. And another point that I feel that what changed is because of the middle lane not having an additional melee creep. So when the mid lane has one additional melee creep, it just makes the lane that more important than the other lanes, just because you get more out of it, which is why we keep seeing 2v2 mid lane or even sometimes 3v3 mid lane. It's just the nature of the map right now. So by removing that, I don't think we'll see as many 3v3 in like 6 heroes in the mid lane anymore. We'll still definitely see some roaming supports coming in to harass the mid, but the focus is definitely not gonna be to the level that we see previously at 7.06. Yeah, so another very important thing is the change in the deny XP that it grants to the enemy. The increase is crazy. It was last time you just lost 30% because you still get 70%, but now you're just getting a measly 25%, which means every deny is going to be very important in the lane matchup. So yeah, I feel that that's going to be huge. A lot of players will start prioritizing on denies, which is like players like Dandy, he really liked to deny. So I think this is very beneficial to Navi in a sense that might be a good way for them to start doing well again. And also because of this deny change, the priority on safe lane is going to be so much more important, because if you can start denying every creep in on one of the lanes, it's going to be much better for you, because you're denying a lot from your opponent. Your opponent's off lane is not going to get much. So that's why I feel that the reverting back to the safe lane of 2-1-1 or with 1 roaming support is going to be more likely as well. Okay, so moving on. This TP thing just makes the starting TP out to ward no longer a thing. It's not a big deal. People will just smoke out and ward now instead. Okay, another thing I want to mention now, it's this shrines and glyph thing. Okay, so these two change. It's really big if you ask me. It's gonna change the meta by quite a bit. At least the dynamic of the game. Okay, so removing shrines from the base. What does it change? It's gonna make high ground push much easier now. There's no more shrines in the base. Means teams will dare to dive more than they would when there's shrines. So games will naturally become shorter. And yeah, there's no more fear of like, oh my, if I dive into the opponent and he just shrine, I'm just gonna lose the fight and I'm just gonna lose all my lead from there. It's no longer be the case. Diving is still not gonna be good, but teams can be much more aggressive when they push high ground now, just because the shrines are removed. I feel that's one factor that will contribute to my end point of the overall game's gonna be shorter in the end. Another point to take note is the second one. Glyph now causes your creeps to be invulnerable for the glyph duration. Okay, why is this important? So usually glyph is only good for a team that is defending, because you need to defend your opponent's pushing. But with this change, glyph can now be used offensively when you want to push in your opponent's high ground, and you can glyph your creeps. Means your opponent cannot kill your creeps, and you can actually siege high ground. The hardest thing about pushing into high ground is losing your creep wave before it actually reaches your opponent's high ground, and then there's nothing you can do already. But now you can make your creeps invulnerable, so you definitely can push. And if you ask me, if this is going to be a trait of glyph, so whenever your opponent glyph the creeps to push high ground, that's the moment when you have to pop your own defensive glyph to prevent your opponent from sieging. So it makes a lot more sense. Now you have a defensive component to glyph and an offensive component to it. I really like this change a lot. And then once again, this change is going to make it easier to high ground, which means games is going to end earlier. Okay, a small other things is siege creep increasing HP, siege creep spawning at 30 minutes. So all this is, Ice Frog is trying to lean the game towards ending around the 30 to 40 minute mark if you ask me. He doesn't want the game to drag way past to the 60-minute mark and so on. So I believe the average game time is going to be around 30-35 minutes, especially that's the time where third Roshan is going to be killed. Okay, so let me move on to the Roshan. It's below. Okay, all these are changes, but not going to read too much details into it. So now Roshan drops the third Roshan kill now drops a single use consumable refresher up, and this is actually super big. If you think about it, it's like you got a free refresher. Imagine you are a Tide Hunter and then you push into, you get the third Roshan and you got this free refresher up. You can literally just double ravage at the 30-minute mark. If you kill your first Roshan earlier, you have around the 10 to 15 minute mark, and then you get your third Roshan by around 30 to 35 minutes mark. And then you push high ground with double ravage or even triple ravage if you have your own refresher. The cooldown is independent from refresher, which means technically you could have 3 ravages. I'm just using ravage as an example because I feel it's a really huge spell, but it applies to any of the other spells, the very big spells in my opinion. So yeah, like even just imagine Razor where you can have double Eye of the Storm, or like in general just whatever of the ultimates, the big ultimates, especially for pushing, things that helps you push. So this again, this third Roshan thing, it's another factor where it would contribute to what I'm trying to bring across. Games are gonna end earlier. It's gonna end around the 35 minute mark. Shorter games. If I'm not wrong, there's some changes in there that makes people, as in that, if from what you see, the talents and everything, they are much stronger now, and the reason for that is it looks super OP, like some of the level 25s or even the level 20s, but the fact that Ice Frog has made all these changes to the games ending earlier, some of these level 25 talents might not even come into play in most of the games. So although it look OP, but I feel that a lot of these heroes, a lot of these talents will not even come into play in the competitive game for games that end around the standard time, the average time, 30 minutes, 35 minutes. When it ends, it's just going to be around level 18, level 22 and most. It's very unlikely for you to hit level 25. So I feel that although it really looks like a lot of the talents are broken, super strong. It's gonna hype up this whole game. It's gonna make the late game very much more exciting because every hero is so much stronger in the late game. But yeah, at the same time, I think the impact of it is not as great as what people might think it to be. It will actually just be it just creates a much more enjoyable late game scenario for those games that last through the 40, 50, or even like past the 1 hour mark. Yep, just what I feel. And moving on, this is another very important point I want to bring up: the Captain's mode. Captain's mode now has an extra ban in the first phase. When I came out of the Art of Drafting article, someone commented and said that what if there's, as in, what do you think of an extra ban in the first phase? And I was thinking, like, there's no reason to have this extra ban, because like we have 5 picks. It's natural to have 5 bans, right? Like most of the games are like that. You know, you look at almost every other MOBA, or like, I'm not sure, it feels that 5 bans with 5 picks is just justified. Oh, but yeah, Icerock decided this is a thing. And if you give it more thought, it's actually going to make the whole draft dynamics as well as the game dynamics much more interesting. Now, more comfort heroes can be banned from players, and this means people can no longer be a 3 hero player, because in the past when you ban 2 heroes, you can just target, let's say if a player plays 3 heroes. I don't want to use GH as an example. He has 3 super good heroes, but he's still very good at a lot of other heroes, so I'm not using him as an example. I'm just going to say, like, assuming you have like just 3 very strong heroes. In the past, you can get banned for the 2, and you can just pick the third one on your first pick. But now, if the options are going to be more limited, you're going to be more banned. Players are going to have to be more versatile. They have to have more. The hero pool have to expand. That's one thing. And this also allows for the removal of broken heroes as well. So, broken heroes can be more easily banned right now, because you have 6 bans in the first phase rather than 4. And I feel that this is going to make drafts much more open. It might seem like a very small thing initially, just 2 bans into 3 bans, but I think it will have quite an impact in the pro scene, honestly. It's like it changes the whole dynamic of drafting. And in the past, where it's just 4 bans, 2 from each team, so most of the time people go into the drafts already expecting, like, this is the 2 bans I'm going to get, and the opponent also, this is the 2 bans I'm going to use for. But now it's no longer the case. People have to start thinking, can I bait my opponent to ban this hero for me? Because there's now 6 bans. You don't want to ban the obvious ones earlier. You want to ban the heroes that you know your opponent won't touch and you don't want to play against it in the first one. And then hopefully your opponent will ban one of the heroes that you wanted to ban yourself for you. And then you can actually have more options to ban something else later on. It sounds very confusing now, but I just feel like there's more options to mind games with this additional ban, and yeah, it's going to open up a lot more right now. Can't wait to see what the first competitive scene is going to be like with this patch 7.07, and that's going to be Epicenter this weekend. Pretty hype about it, and yeah, I'll continue to do my draft analysis for it as well. Hope you guys will watch. Hey, moving on, just a small point I want to talk is this: the hex. Hex can no longer be dispelled. Okay, so previously, hex can be dispelled by Lotus Orb, and that make hex a really useless item in the sense that people stop getting it. You literally don't see anyone getting it anymore in the pro scene. When you can counter a 5,000 over 227 plus 2, yeah, 5,000 over gold item for a slightly cheaper cost, or around the same cost, then it just doesn't make sense to get the item anymore, right? Like, you use it but you can be dispelled straight away, and it's also very heavily countered by 4 stuff in the past. But at the very least now it can't be dispelled, so I think we'll get to see a bit more hexes around. I don't think it totally died off previously. Like, I don't think we saw, like, in 100 games we probably see it like 2-3 times maybe. Yeah, but I won't be surprised to see it coming back right now. Okay, so I just wanted to summarize the overall things. I'm not going to go into the rest of the heroes changes, the talents changes, or the items changes. I just want to summarize the points that I brought up and how this whole patch 7.17 is going to affect the scene in general, the Dota games in general. So first of all, I mentioned the dynamics of drafting is going to shift. Okay, that's one thing. Secondly, games should become shorter overall. The average game time, I will expect it to be around 30-35 minutes, as I mentioned. And regarding the broken talents and everything, where you're gonna expect to see this and that, I feel that it's not gonna have as much impact as people think it will be, just because games are gonna end before that. And lastly, the point where I brought it right at the start of this video is the laning dynamics. I feel that it's gonna revert back a bit. It's gonna find a middle ground between the last time and during TI3, TI4 period and during the 7.06 period, where it was just tri lane with 2 supports. Now I feel that the safe lane is gonna matter more right now, just because of the shift in creep equilibrium, as well as the mid creep having one less melee creep right now. So yeah, and the denies and everything, the things that I mentioned earlier. So these are the 4 points I want to bring up just from this Dueling Fate patch alone. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Once again, thanks for watching. Hope this new mic make me sound better, and if you support me, please subscribe the video, and also subscribe to my channel and like the video, and leave comments below about what you think about this patch, as well as do you agree with what I said, the 4 points. And if you don't agree, please let me know why, so we can have a discussion probably and see how things worked out. And lastly, thanks again, a big thanks again to Mayo Gaming for the new mic, and yeah, thanks for watching guys, appreciate it, bye.